Hey guys, Noah. I'm with Peaden. We're going to talk about a little tutorial video on how to take care of your AC system. I get a lot of clients asking me what they should do and how they should do it to help keep the costs down and to keep a good healthy unit. The first thing I want to kind of bring up is the filter. A lot of people are trying to figure out exactly where the filter are, your new homeowners, or so this particular unit here, I would point out that you can get tricked. You got a shelf down here that people would think that that would be where the filter goes, which isn't very simple. Yeah, you could put a filter there. The problem with that is the airflow is going to take the path of least resistance, and therefore it's going to bypass that filter, pretty much making that filter useless. So the whole point on putting a filter in is to pull the dust and the debris that's coming through the unit here, and that's the only thing that we're worried about. Some clients ask, what type of filter should I use? What kind of grade? Keep it simple. Don't get one that's too thick or too heavy. And I like to have a double frame filter because these units, they create a lot of suction and they will create a parachute effect if you don't have a double frame, and therefore pulls this filter in sideways and allows that air to bypass that filter. Again, making the filter useless. So real quick, the proper steps to replace this one as we pull this panel off here. And we can see that this is the proper location of the filter. This one is a 16 by 20. They are going to have their sizes written right on the front side here. And the other good point is to bring up for you guys is they will have an arrow on it. That arrow shows you the direction of the airflow. So some of the clients say, okay, well, which way is up? Which way is right? Which way should the arrow go? So it's real simple. Think of your unit as pulling air. So this one here particularly is going to pull their air from here, and it's going to come through this way. So airflow is moving up. And 9 times out of 10, your unit will be pulling airflow up. All right. So we just pull this one out. We can see the difference here. This is probably about a good 30-day use here. And again, that's another good point there, is we want to replace these every 30 days because it doesn't really benefit you to go longer. You're not going to get any benefit for running this 60 days or 120 days. We want to keep this as free and as clear as possible, and to keep this motor and the unit healthy. All right, fairly inexpensive, $5–6 for these types of filters. Double frame, like I said, and the arrow. All right, so the arrow is pointing down right now, so I'm going to flip it up and you're going to see the shiny metal frame. All right, this metal is a good indicator that you got it going the right direction. So arrow up here, and we just slide it in here, and you can see on this particular unit it is sealed completely off. Now we can't get any dust and particles bypassing this filter once I put this cover on. Again, if I put it down here, we've got all these gaps down through here that all this air and all this dust is going to bypass, and it's going to clog this up, it's going to create more amps, and it's going to clog your coil up. And therefore you're going to end up replacing or have lots of costly repairs. So again, arrow up, slide it in, and then all we got to do is put the panel back on. It's that easy, guys. All right, guys, here's another tip for you. I got a lot of complaints and things that have to do with the drain line. Drain line. It's something that we constantly think about. As a homeowner, it's very easy to take care of. All right, so if we look here, we got the air handler unit. We have this PVC pipe coming down and exiting down to the floor. Well, what this is doing is pulling the condensation out of the evaporator coil and goes down to the line. So if you think about it, if we were cooking and using vegetable oils and greases, all this air that we're pulling out of the room gets pulled into that unit there. All right, it bypasses that filter and eventually gets into your coil. All right, so once it gets into your coil, then we start developing a sludge. All right, it's a slimy, nasty, pain in the butt sludge that will work down its line, and it's almost like gets to be a clogged artery. All right, so it gets down here, and over the years, what's going to happen is the water flow will stop flowing. all right? And it's going to back up. So if you have a safety switch like this one here, there's multiple different types and brands, but this one's going to have a float on it. So that float's going to trigger because that water is no longer draining out of that switch. So now it's going to back up and the unit's going to shut off if you have that switch. If you don't have the switch and you don't have that safety mechanism put in place, then the unit will back up and it's going to back up in the pan, and eventually it's just going to fill the floor with water. And that's when you know as a homeowner that you have an issue. So there's a couple things that we can do to very easily, prevent this from becoming an issue for you guys. So replacing the filter once a month, I always like to recommend vinegar. Vinegar is more a environmental friendly substance. It does the same thing. I know a lot of people recommend bleach in the past. Think about it, if I put bleach down this tube, it does a great job as of what we're doing it for, but it's going and it's just dumping right into the ground. So essentially you might as well just take some bleach and put it into the ground. If we put vinegar down through this line, then it's a very earth-friendly substance. It's not a chemical. So it's very easy. So if we set a little jug of vinegar here beside the units, when we come in to do our other maintenance, we can see that sitting there and give us a good reminder. And all we got to do is pour a little bit of vinegar down it. You don't have to measure it out. It doesn't have to be exact. So usually about a quarter cup is usually what I like to do. And easy as that. If we just pull that out and set that there, and what we got to do is replace this switch here, and we're done. All right, so that's going to prevent this line from getting clogged up. All right, some of the other designs, you're going to have a spout out here or somewhere you have an access, wherever that may be. If you don't have a switch, and if you don't have an access, definitely get a hold of your HVAC specialist so we can get that replaced, and so you can do that kind of maintenance at home. Hey guys, I got another tip for you. I got a lot of clients asking about how to take care and maintenance their vents. It's very simple, keep it simple. This particular home here is, we have the vents in the ceiling. Not all the time you're going to find them in the ceiling. Sometimes you're going to find them in the sidewalls or even the floorboards. It's important to keep those vents clean because this is the air quality you're breathing. So a couple things that I found that maybe we could do is show you that you don't need to go out and buy special tools for this. Swiffer, I think pretty much a lot of people's got some kind of dusting tool of some sort. Pretty much if we do this on a regular basis, it shouldn't get too difficult. So it's just going through and cleaning out the vents and wiping them, keeping them dust free. Some of the other things that I do personally at my own home is I'll go and get some Clorox wipes. Just pull them out. They have some desanitizer and stuff like that, and wipe them down. Usually I would do that mostly for the kitchen area, because that's where that grease is going to build up, and it's pulling, and that grease will get attached to those vents there. So it gets a little bit more difficult to wipe those down. Something else I've seen or heard was people pulling them out and putting them in the dishwasher. All right, don't do that. These things, most of them are made of metal, and they are not a rust-free metal. Clients asking about shutting the doors and shutting vents off that are not being used. I'm going to say no. Don't shut those doors, don't shut those vents off, because we need to circulate those homes. Here in the South, we have a humidity problem, and that will cause issues, very expensive issues. Say the daughter or the son has moved out, gone to college, hey, well, let's not condition that room. Well, what's going to happen is that humidity is going to get so high, and you're going to create issues with the drywall, the paint, the door jambs, the windows, and it gets very expensive, and it's just not worth it. So keep all your doors open. Keep all the vents open, because airflow works in a circulation. So keeping that airflow in and out of each and every separate room is very, very important.